happen.
Cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So 81 was really the birth of KIX then, but you guys already had shoes going, correct?
Yeah. We were all. It was already the full band, the members. We just had to change the name.
Right on. So the way we try to do this as much as possible is we kind of just try to get you talking as much as we can. We don't like doing an interview per se where we're asking you a bunch of questions.
Okay.
Really about let's just get together and bullshit and tell some stories and have some fun.
Yeah, just kind of let you reminisce a little bit and tell stuff that, maybe a lot of people don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
And just have fun with it.
Stories. Right on. So what time are we sitting at here, gentlemen? We are at 9.
I should plug this
8
thing
minutes
in.
till.
5:52 by my clock. God, I gotta figure out this lighting. Boy, it's so dark in here, and I'm so lit up. It's weird.
Hey, Brian. We've got one hell of a storm ripping through Texas right now. In fact, half the city is without power right now. So if the show was to get knocked off the air, are you good with rescheduling for another night, maybe?
Sure. Yeah.
All right, brother. We hope not, but we've had like 2-inch hail and severe lightning and wind. So right now we're all good, but everyone around us has no power. So
I know how that goes being here in Nashville.
Right?
We get some good storms around here.
We got a lot of good friends in Nashville, man. We did Morgan Miles from Nashville a couple weeks ago. We just did Jeremy Popoff from Lit from Nashville. We're getting a lot of love out of Nashville.
Yeah, there's a lot of people to live around here. A lot of people I'm discovering. I've only been here like not quite a year and a half. So I'm always stumbling onto somebody. Like I'll be at the Kroger and I'll run into hey, like I didn't know you lived here.
Right?
A lot of people. I keep talking. A lot of people moving there.
Yeah.
Quite a few. It just seems to be the spot everybody's going now. What brought you out there? What was the why'd you go? I'm curious.
Well, I mean, I've originally left the East Coast, Maryland, because I hated the weather in the seasons. And I love the weather in California, but I was out there for 26 years and I was in a relationship, and that relationship came to an end, and she owned the house. So basically I had to leave and go find my own place. And, the house prices out there are just like insane. So somebody suggested I look around here, and I flew out and spent a week just driving around Nashville and out, around the whole area. And I just decided and when I started seeing the home prices, it was like, oh man, I'd be stupid not to come here.
Yeah.
And plus all the, the music scene and all the people I know that are already here.
Yeah.
So Brian, later on, I'd like to have you on the radio with us for a live show during our morning show. Are you going to be okay with that?
Yeah, that sounds good.
So obviously we play you in our lineups here at Jack FM. So we'd like to get you on for a morning show, a little beat, and have some fun with that. So we'll exchange information. I'll shoot you my phone number over, and we can make that happen.
All right.
Cool, buddy. Cool. All right. So it's almost that time here. We got about 1 minute. So, Brian, you'll be in the waiting room. You'll see a dark screen here for it's probably going to be about 10 minutes, brother. So if you got to go to the restroom and get yourself a drink or whatever, man, make it happen. I'll shoot you a quick little message right before we're ready to bring you back in.
Okay.
All right, buddy. All right.
Man, I don't know why I'm so lit.
Bro, you're lit up like a son of a gun.
I know. I can't figure it out. It's dark in here. I'm gonna turn off.
Did you turn your screen brightness down?
It was better when the lights were on me. It seemed like it was.
No, that's bad. That's horrible.
Like this though. What if like this is better if I get the light below that somehow?
Yeah.
Shit.
Have you turned your screen brightness down?
I don't know how to do that. How do you do that? I can't find the settings.
On the F keys of your computer, do you see a little sun symbol? That's perfect right there. I don't know what the hell is going on, but that looks perfect.
Like that's weird.
Right?
I wonder why. because I'm facing the lights in my face now.
Yeah, I mean that's really nice.
Sun symbol. Let me see. Is that a sun symbol? I don't see one. Do I hold shift and hit it or just hit it?
No, it would just be an F key.
Is it on top of the F key?
On top of the F keys would
Or
be
is it below it?
I don't see.
anything that looks like a brightness.
No.
Just stand up for the entire show. You'll be all right.
Well, that's with this like that. If I fuck, this is ridiculous. I don't. It's just this is weird.
I don't know. We got to start playing the Q video.
Okay. Shit. It sucks.
All right.
I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna turn this light off and see what happens if I shut it off.
There you go. All right. You want to kill your video for? Yeah, that's horrible, dude.
It's worse. I mean, it's the lights off now. I am literally in the dark here.
That's so weird, dude.
Okay, I'm gonna. Shit. Okay. Fuck. I don't know what to do because I'm totally lit up, and it's just what do I do? Turn the light on. It totally lit up. I just don't know where to go with this. I mean, how the hell do I get rid of this fucking just lit up?
Was there any way to go to settings?
But when I go like this, the lighting is good.
Yeah, that's perfect.
So what am I gonna stand the whole show? That sucks.
Does he sit down?
Man, you got, well, that's not bad there. That's better.
Does he have time to go outside and get a sun's tan?
Maybe not. All right. So,
Why is it like that?
okay, let's kill our videos and
All right, that is. Leave it there. Leave it there.
let's kill and go.
Can you get further? Let's see what.
Is it now?
Spartacus. Sparta. How come I'm not hearing you? Can't hear a thing.
You can't hear me?
Now I hear you. Do you hear me?
Dude, that totally blew my Sparta entrance.
Sparta.
Sparta?
Sparta.
No, you gotta say like, I am Sparta. No?
I thought you were Spartacus.
You're like a warrior, dude. What's up?
Yeah.
It's the Hangout, baby. We're live on Facebook at the Hangout.live or the Hangout Live Facebook page. Hangout.live? Oh, that's our website.
That's our website.
That's our website. So, Robbie,
Yes.
we are having one hell of a storm. Oh, Hammerjacks? I got some
Yeah.
Robbie headbangers on over here.
Oh, headbangers. All right.
So we're having one hell of a storm here in Texas, brother.
That's what I hear. I keep hearing the hail banging off your windows over there.
I know, man. So folks, if we should lose audio or video or power or anything like that, we will reschedule. But hopefully we'll make it through. You see this?
Yes.
That's not very good, is it? You'd think we'd have more money to have a better mic.
Hey, it looks fancy.
It does look fancy. It does look fancy. All right, man. So we've got a great show for you tonight, but let's talk about the weeks we got coming up and a little bit about Saturday, shall we? Saturday. I'm going to be sitting next to this dude in Southern Cal. I'm over here, bro.
I know, but I was pointing to me.
Wow. We're going to be in Southern Cal together, sitting on a couch or something. I don't know. Filming a pilot for this thing for some network love.
Yes.
Maybe we can make you not so ghostly.
I know. I can't figure it out. I sit in the dark here and I'm still lit up. So
Dude,
somehow it's my computer screen seems to be doing it.
You live in Southern California, brother. Get some.
But watch this. When I stand up here, the lighting seems fine, right?
Now you're showing off those records.
All right. And then when I sit down, it just lights up.
I don't know.
Even though I'm in the dark.
It's just
in the dark.
Keep saying it. No.
Okay. So yeah, next week we have Bill Leverty, right?
Bill Leverty on Monday night, June 29th, and the week after that, we've got Joey Allen from Warrant.
Yeah.
But tonight.
But remember, before we go into tonight, next Saturday, special edition. Everybody tune in to next Saturday as we actually film it. It's going to be different. We're going to have Morgan Miles live in, it's not even a studio, it's a garage. It's a rock and roll garage, live with us performing, and special guests to be announced.
Yeah, we're talking to some big names right now. Berg, kind of like me. Big names.
Yes.
I know what you're thinking, Robbie.
Free. Can I say it?
You're talking about that gun is what you're talking about.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's what you're talking about. All right. So we're going to do that this Saturday night. And remember, folks, okay, we've received a ton of emails from you guys wanting to come in and show some love to Brian. And we're going to get as many of you in tonight as we possibly can. Just keep it around 60 seconds. Don't make it a Q&A. Just come on, tell them hi, tell them how you feel or whatever. And about 60 seconds to get through everybody. Okay. So should we get it going?
Let's do it. Let's bring Brian in.
Let's bring Brian in. Let me see. Where's Brian at here? Yeah. Brian. I should have sent him a message. I told him I would, but I lied.
There he is.
Brian, what are you doing, brother?
Well, I was waiting. I was dinking around on Facebook.
Right on, dude. Right on. So I told you I was going to send you a message, and I totally lied.
Well, that's all right. I'm still sitting here, so.
So everybody, this is Brian Forsythe from the band KIX, and they kick ass, man. Look at Robbie doing the all-around applause.
Yes.
So Brian, I gotta mention this, brother, because I've done a lot of these kind of things, and I've talked to a lot of people on Jack FM and the radio, and Robbie and I both kind of got a laugh out of this. The very beginning of your bio says, I started out, I wanted to be a garbage man. And the Beatles changed everything, brother.
Right.
That was about those.
Do you want an explanation for that?
I do, man.
Well, I was only 6 years old. So to me, I would watch the garbage truck come down the street and I saw the guys hanging on the back. I'd see them jump off and run and grab the trash cans and dump them in. And then they'd run and put the trash cans back as the truck was taking off. And then they'd chase the truck down the street and jump on the back. I thought, man, that looks like fun. So I thought that would be the job to have. So, I mean, that makes sense, doesn't it, for a 6-year-old?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So, yeah, so I mean, that was my goal at that point. But, yeah, and then, of course, a few months later, I saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan, and that completely changed my life. I mean, up until that point, I mean, my parents were big into music, so they were always playing music around the house and in a variety of different styles too. They didn't settle on just one thing. So I heard a lot of different stuff from jazz to country. And so I was already a music fan, but when I saw it being performed and, just that the Beatles were just like, no one had ever seen anything like that except for Elvis, but he was like kind of like a solitary star kind of guy. But to see a band put on that show and hear the audience just going crazy, that was like, maybe that might be a little bit more fun than a garbage man.
Just a little bit.
So it says that you've had a lot of influences, even all the way back to the twangy Telecaster of Johnny Cash.
Yes.
Twangy. That's good.
Yeah, there's some about the guitar that just always connected with me.
Right.
And I think the twangy thing. I always like that too. I mean, the Beatles kind of had that thing too, the Rickenbacker guitars and their early sound. They had that kind of a jangly, twangy thing. And so that always did attract me. When I first started playing, of course, in junior high, I went for more of the distorted, fuzzed out sound because I couldn't play. So I used that sound to sort of disguise my defects. but I've always loved that clean sound.
Right. Robbie, you ever use that?
What's that? The clean sound?
No. The distortion when you were young, man.
Of course. Who didn't?
Yeah, I think all kids when they're learning guitar, that's what they want that fuzz box. Well, I don't know what they use now. There's so many pedals available now.
Yeah. So in junior high, is that when you started your first band then? Your first kind of band thing, or?
Yeah, around 14, I guess.
So what was the scene like? What were you doing? What was going on at that time?
Well, this was like late 60s, early 70s, actually. So, Grand Funk was big. Of course, Jimi Hendrix, Led Zeppelin, all the Norm and Alice Cooper and all those bands. And at my junior high was part of the high school. And after, I think it was once a week, they would have these, they called it the Coke Hour. And it was like an after school performance in the cafeteria. Like one of the bands from the school would set up, or several bands actually, they set up in the cafeteria, and they'd, like 3 or 4 bands would play, and you could just go hang out and watch it. And I remember going down there one day after school and just being fascinated. And that's where I met, there's a friend of mine that taught me pretty much everything I know about lead guitar. I played acoustic before that, and I started playing electric, but I didn't know how to break into lead guitar until I met this guy, and he kind of directed me put me in the right direction. But this guy was left-handed, so he played upside down like Jimi Hendrix. And I started out upside down, and he's the guy that taught me into playing right-handed.
Wow. So you learned how to play upside down.
Yeah, but I could do it. I did it both ways. It's kind of strange because it felt natural to play upside down, but my older brother played, and he was right-handed. So he would show me the chords right-handed. So I'd learn them right-handed, and then I'd have to flip it over and laid it. So I could do it either way. And I remember the first time this particular guy and the left-handed guy saw me playing, this might have even been before, I guess it was junior high. I probably was around 13 at that point. He saw me playing and he took me aside and he goes, he says, you know, all your first position chords. He goes, do you know any bar chords? And I was like, no. He goes, if you learn bar chords, you'll be able to play lead guitar. So he kind of took me under his wing and got me started.
Oh, that's cool. Is he still around? You keep in touch with him? Curious.
Yeah. He teaches guitar lessons in Frederick. His nickname is Hot Dog.
Huh.
Hot dog.
Yeah.
It's like some bluesy stuff. His old man hot dog.
So this is all Maryland, right?
Yeah, around Frederick, Maryland.
Okay, yeah.
Nice.
So then it developed from there. We going into high school, you're getting into what, better bands, or just what started happening?
Oh yeah. It was like I had these friends. I just tried to find whoever I could, other musicians. You know, I'd gravitate towards them, and so there was a bunch of different variations on certain bands. And in the very first band that I started playing with, I mean, we didn't play out like gigs because we were still too young. Every once in a while, we get some gig at a church doing some kind of weird thing. But the very first one, I played drums because I couldn't decide between drums and guitar at first, so I did both. But the first band, I was actually the drummer. And the guitar player could also play drums. So him and I would switch here and there. And I just started getting better on guitar than I was on drums. So we ended up getting a drummer and then going with two guitars.
Cool.
But I kind of knew it. I knew it at early on that I was not meant to be a drummer. I mean, it was fun, but I think my calling was guitar.
Yeah.
It would appear that way. So was there music around the house growing up? I mean, were your parents really musical or?
Yeah, well, my father was, well, both my parents were into music, but my father was really a music fan. And I think he wished he could have been a musician, but he wasn't. His father was, my grandfather. And I ended up with my grandfather's 1937 Gibson acoustic.
Wow.
Oh, it's my prized possession.
Wow.
But my father, he mostly just listened. He just loved to listen to music. So, I mean, they had, well, actually in the old days, it wasn't even a stereo. I guess it was a mono, like a cabinet.
Right.
With a turntable in it and just a big 15 and a little, I don't know what was underneath that grill cloth, but he was into jazz, more into jazz, but some really cool stuff. He was into Miles Davis, like out there stuff. And then my mom was more of like, she would go to one of those variety stores that sells like everything. Like they have a record section, album section and all this. And she'd go through the discount bin and she would just pick out random stuff and bring it home. Just, I guess maybe the album cover attracted her. And
Right.
so she was always bringing stuff home. And in fact, that's how I discovered, I didn't know I think I'd heard the name The Who, but I'd never heard him until she brought some of their 45s home. And then I remember she brought a Steppenwolf album and I was like, wow, who are these guys? So it was pretty cool. It was cool to have parents like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, cool.
Absolutely. So let's talk about, we're getting up into the 70s, right? And you're kicking around with some bands, but in late 1970, you're heading into a 7-Eleven. 77. You're heading into a 7-Eleven. That's kind of hard. 77, 7-Eleven. And you run into a couple buddies. You want to tell us what happened that night in the 7-Eleven, my brother?
Yeah, I was, I'd already been up and running by this time. I had played in a bunch of like cover bands. I'd relocated down to Alabama for about 8 months or so. At one point, down in Florence, right near Muscle Shoals, and was in a band. I mean, we toured all over the South, and so then I came back to Maryland, and the band that I was in Alabama with, the drummer and the bass player and I moved. We were all three from Maryland, so when we went back, we continued on and no, actually, we got a different drummer, so it was just me and the bass player, and we continued on playing sort of like a ZZ Top Southern rock kind of band. And at one point, this band that Jimmy Chalfant was in, they were scouting for another rhythm guitar player, and they came and saw my band playing and stole my rhythm guitar player. And so that dissolved that band. So I found myself out of work, just hanging around, trying to jam with people. I wasn't finding anything worthwhile. And then I ended up running lights for Jimmy's band, the band that stole my guitar player, which was kind of fun. I just went around with and that was back in the Flashpot days too. So I was doing that. And then soon after that, I was still looking for a band. I heard that Ronnie was leaving the band that he was in, and he was in this popular cover band at the time around Frederick. So I went to audition for his band, or the band that he was leaving. And so one night I got done running lights for Jimmy's band. I'm coming home, and it's late at night. I stop at 7-Eleven for a burrito or something, and I'm back in the back by the microwave. And all of a sudden, I see Ronnie coming. And I didn't really, I kind of knew Ronnie, but not real well. And he comes up and he goes, "Hey, I heard you're trying out for my band." And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "You don't want to play with those guys." He goes, "They never want to rehearse. They're never going to get anywhere. They've been playing the same songs for years." And he goes, "This guy, Donnie Purnell, and we're putting together this band, and we're going to do all originals and get a record deal." And, I'd never thought about it like that. I mean, like the band I was in Alabama with, we did a few originals, but I never thought about getting a record deal. I never thought that was possible. It never entered my mind. So I remember thinking, do I want to start over from scratch with these guys, or do I want to go join this band that's already playing and making money? So I told Ronnie I'd think about it. And then luckily the next day, the drummer that we had at the time, this other guy named Donnie, called me up and talked my ear off for about an hour and convinced me to give it a try. And I said, "Sure, I'll check it out." So they came to I was still living in my parents' house at the time. So Donnie Purnell, Ronnie, and this other Donnie, drummer, showed up at my parents' house, and we went down to the basement and jammed. And the first song we played together was Atomic Bombs.
Wow.
And I remember playing that going, "Man, this is pretty cool." So, I was pretty much just sucked in at that point.
Wow.
Cool.
That's incredible, brother. So it was really just kind of kismet that you guys all kind of came together in a very, really kind of cool way.
Yeah, it was, yeah, just pure chance. I think I was 20 at the time. And this was like December 77. And I remember after that first rehearsal, we planned on getting back together. And there was this humongous blizzard. It was like the blizzard of 78. It was right at the beginning, or 77 or 78. And we couldn't rehearse for it was like several weeks before, because my parents' house was located back this quarter-mile lane, and the lane went up a hill and back. So like we were snowed in for a couple weeks.
Wow.
So finally, after they plowed our driveway, we finally got to get together again. So the second rehearsal's in 78.
Wow. Interesting. So it went from there. Obviously, it developed, and that's what eventually turned into KIX, correct?
Yeah, it was kind of a long, a lot of times people think these things happen fast, but I mean, we went through three different singers before we found Steve.
Wow.
Wow.
The first singer we had, his name was Ed, and he was from Buffalo, so we called him Buffalo Ed, like Buffalo Head,
Right.
and he had big hair too, so he did have a Buffalo Head. And he never made it out of the basement. I mean, I remember this other guy came along who was way better. He played in a band with Donnie Purnell, like a couple of years before that, and he's a really good singer. And I'm still in touch with that guy. He lives in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, but his name's Terry Brady. But yeah, he ended up being the first guy we did actual gigs with, and he was really good until, well, after the band that he was in with Donnie, he got married. So when his music career was kind of on hold, and he was a regular like husband guy. And I think when he tried to start up the rock star thing again, his wife frowned upon it. So that didn't last too long.
Yeah, I get that. So 81, you get signed with Atlantic Records and life changes, right, man? That had to have been a really surreal, life-changing moment for you.
Yeah, the very moment that Doug Morris walked up there, like we were at SIR, we did this showcase, and it was for like this handful of record execs, and a really weird experience. But we get done our set, and Doug Morris walks up on stage, and well, boys, how'd you like to be on Atlantic Records? And that was like wow, yeah. It's like, but it's almost like it didn't change overnight. I mean, we got to go record a record and do that whole thing, but it was still an uphill battle. I mean, Blow My Fuse was our first gold record.
Right.
That eventually went platinum like 10 years after that. I mean, it was like everything we did was slow.
It's interesting because I know I for the first time I heard of you guys was actually a guy from Baltimore, because I grew up in Tucson, and this guy would come out from Baltimore every year. I don't you might know him. He was in a band called Kick the Dog back in the 80s, and he was going by Jimmy Germain.
Oh yeah.
Jimmy, yeah. He was at a club I was playing at, and he was hanging out by himself, and I saw him there, and I go, this guy's just hanging out by himself. So I walked up and said hello, and we became friends. And as we talked, he told me about coming from being from Baltimore, and he talked about you guys. So I was like, oh, wow, okay. He's talking about this band that's, and it was maybe a year or two after that actually was when I first heard of you, you know what I mean? Seeing you guys out, where it kind of started to blow up. And he had told me, he goes, they've been around a long time. They're really good. And I've opened up for them. His sister dated one of the guys in the band, I don't know who, but I don't recall. But it's interesting because, to hear about it before it happens, and to know that you were around for so long, it's, it happens to a lot of bands. People, when they first hear them, wow, they just brand new band. It was like, well, maybe not as new as you think.
Yeah.
10 years overnight success,
Right.
Grinding for
yeah, and we definitely paid our dues. I mean, we were like nonstop, just touring and touring, and club touring, and most of it in the early days, was in the Baltimore, DC area. I mean, we traveled down to Raleigh, North Carolina, and a few places down there. But we didn't, mostly East Coast, a little bit of Ohio, but yeah. So when we went to the West Coast the first time we played West Coast was 1986, and opening for Guns N' Roses at the Troubadour.
Oh,
and their record wasn't even out yet.
Yep.
So we were opening for a band that didn't even have a record out, but it was like that was our first West Coast gig, and I remember there was this underground thing. We didn't think anyone would really know who we were. No, we went to the West Coast. I'm sorry. We never played LA, but we did go to the West Coast in 81 for a brief time. And that's why when we got out there, nobody knew who we were when we got there. So we were a little leery of going back. It was like, nah, because we didn't have it was opening for Triumph in 81, our first West Coast, but it was like Northwest, Seattle and Portland, and
Yeah.
where else we go? Sacramento and then Oakland. When we got down further down, people started to know who we were. But man, Seattle and Oregon, or even well, Sacramento wasn't too bad, but anyway, yeah. So I think it was just because most of our touring had been done on the East Coast, so a little bit of the word trickled out. But
Right.
But that was 81 with Triumph. I mean, that's
yeah,
pretty early on. That's back like Rock and Roll Machine. I mean, actually, that was probably before that.
yeah.
But
I forget their big Allied Forces. I think was their album.
okay, yeah.
And they had the chaser lights at that time.
Right.
Because I remember they hated us.
Really?
and Donnie would, yeah, they would their road crew would sabotage us and do like unplug our amps while we were playing, like all kinds of weird stuff. So Donnie would every night we'd go out there. We'd go running out on stage, and he'd be flipping his bass around, and he'd kick his mic stand, and it would fall down and take out a bunch of the chaser lights on the front. And you could see the steam coming out of the road crew's ears back there. It's like, oh. So there's this little like battle going on between us and their road crew.
Yeah, and that seems like it was kind of normal for bands from that era, from the 70s and stuff. A lot of times their road crew is just vicious to the band's opening. I know I've experienced it with different acts where they sabotage everything, turn off half the lights, turn off half the PA, do whatever they can to make sure that you look as small as possible, instead of just going, hey, we're all here to have fun. We want the crowd to enjoy you and enjoy us, and let's all have fun. They didn't have that mentality.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the attitude we always took towards opening bands. We always try to be as friendly as we can, and I mean, we learned from having it done to us, we knew what not to do,
Yeah.
And it's better to make friends than enemies,
Absolutely. So I have to say, when you opened for Guns N' Roses, that was summer of '86, correct? Like June, probably?
No, it was actually October.
Oh, it was October.
Thanksgiving.
Okay. Because I remember they played the Troubadour, because I traveled out with a band I was in to play the Troubadour, and people were talking about Guns N' Roses, and it was in '86. And they were like, oh, this band, all about Guns N' Roses. And they were still new. They didn't break till, 2 years later?
Well, I had already heard of them before we got there. I think they may have had like an EP out or something.
Yeah.
And I heard that, and I remember like, man, these guys are going to be big. I mean, I just knew it.
Yeah.
So when we had the opportunity to do that gig, like, of course we wanted to do it. And they had the following around LA. So it was, the logical choice.
Right. Yeah, that was an interesting story, because literally they played in Tucson in front of 30 people. I want to say 1987, and they came back a year later in front of 30,000 at Compton Terrace. I was like, how fast things can happen for some bands,
Oh yeah, it happened almost too fast for them.
Yeah, an atomic explosion there, I mean, unbelievable.
Well, I saw them at Hammerjacks too, in Baltimore. Yeah, hey, there you go. And that was cool. I mean, it was actually pretty packed. I think they were starting to catch on. In fact, who'd they play with? I'm trying to remember who they played with. I can't remember. But yeah, the word was already out at that point. They just hadn't gotten to the breakout stadium level yet, so they were still doing the clubs. It was great to see them in that setting. I mean, I always thought when they went to the arenas and the stadiums, it was like, it doesn't match up. They had that club vibe about them.
Yeah.
Hey guys, we're gonna have to go to the producer here. We've got people just hammering with questions and all kinds of stuff. And let's go ahead and bring in. I don't know what's going on there. Let's figure out what we got going on here. There we go. All right, we're gonna bring in our producer here, A-Dub.
There you are.
There she is.
Hey, here I am.
How you doing, Dubsky? So you got
I am good.
You got your work cut out for you back there. A lot of people sending emails wanting to get in and say hi to
I
Brian.
know.
He's getting all kinds of love. All kinds of
I
love.
am getting lots of love over here, lots of questions. You know, Brian is apparently a very popular musician.
Brian, come on now. All right, so what do we got for him first here, Dubsky?
Well, the first one I have, Peggy wants to know if you remember Skid Row opening up for you at Hammerjacks in 1988.
Yes, I do. A lot of
Want to
people.
elaborate on that a little? You remember that show?
Well, I remember them opening for us. I don't particularly remember the show. In fact, you know, the thing is with me, I'm so obsessed with our show and getting prepared for it that I rarely watch the opening act unless there's something phenomenal about them. But I just remember, you know, they were cool guys and they were a good band. And I don't remember if they were, I guess they were label mates at that point. I forget.
I'm not sure.
They eventually ended up on Atlantic too.
Nice.
Okay, well, that's awesome.
Number 2.
The one other question I got for you, you talked a little bit about having to flip your guitar upside down and kind of accumulate the chords. Was that hard for you? Did you find it easier to learn music that way?
What, to transpose the chords from upside down to, well, yeah, that's why eventually I had to, well, I got better at playing it right-handed because that's where I initially learned the chord. So I could flip it and do it the other way, but it's half the time I would just stay right-handed and play it that way. So eventually it got more comfortable just to keep it right-handed.
Nice. Thanks,
Awesome.
Dubsky.
Thank
Keep
you.
those emails coming in. Brian, you ready to see some of your lovely family out here that want to come on and say hi to you?
Sure.
All right, brother, let's bring in some of them. Sarah Bladen. Sarah Bladen, I'm getting ready to bring you in. You got 60 seconds with Brian right here on the Hangout. Sarah, where'd she go?
I see her name.
I don't see her at all. Do you see her on your screen?
I don't see her on the screen. I see her name up there.
All right, well, we'll bring in the next one. Let's bring in the next one, shall we? Joan, you there, Joan? There's Joan.
Who's that girl?
Joan, do you have your audio on?
Oh, there it is.
Joan.
Hey, Brian. Hey, everybody. How are you?
Looks like your internet connection is a little slow there.
Yeah.
Oh, we're having a storm. We're having a bad storm. So
It's
that's
raining
probably-
here too.
yeah. So, well, I just want to say I miss you. I miss the music. I miss our KIX family. And I hope this crap gets over soon.
Ah, me too.
Yeah.
I'm getting too comfortable here at my house. I need to get out.
I bet you are. Well, I'm excited for your cooking videos. So keep them coming. I love them. Love them. Love them.
Okay.
Joan's been a huge support trying to get this done and getting the KIX family over to the Hangout Live page. And Joan, we love you for that very much. And thanks so much. We'll see you here in just a few. All right. Enjoy the show.
Got it. Yep.
All right. How about we bring in Maria Hernandez?
Ah, Maria.
Maria. There's Maria. What are you doing?
Hey.
Hi, everybody.
Hey.
I just want to say I miss everybody too. I miss the shows. I miss watching you play that telly, that 71 telly that I love. And I miss all my friends and hearing the music. And it's good to see you.
Well, I miss not playing.
I bet.
Right? Absolutely. Maria, hey, we really thank you for all that you've done here this week with the Hangout Live and pumping it out there and being such a great support for Brian and KIX family. You're awesome. So thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks. See you later.
All right. We'll see you later. All right. We got one more here. Let's go with Kim Phillips. It's actually not Kim. It's her husband, Mark. We got Mark loading in right now. Mark, are you there, Mark? Hello, Mark. I don't think Mark made it. Oh, here he comes.
Ah, Mark.
Hi. Can you hear us?
Mark.
There he is.
There's Mark.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How you doing, buddy?
Pretty good. How have you been?
Excelente.
How are you, Robbie?
Good, good.
Hi, Brian.
Well,
So
My
Mark,
name's Mark from Port Charlotte, Florida.
Oh, excellent.
I've met Robbie a ton of times with him and Jack. You know, I'm always infatuated about his guitar playing, how he Mozart with a
Oh,
bow.
yes.
You
Yeah.
gotta have Robbie do that.
Right? Absolutely. Well, thanks so much, Mark.
You
Thanks,
guys
Brian.
take care.
All right, brother. All right. So, Brian, what do you think? You think we want to play a video right now? Maybe some Don't Close Your Eyes? Let's get these people pumped up. You want to do it?
sure.
I got it loaded up right here, brother. Let's jam out for a minute and get these people excited about the incredible music of KIX.
Why'd you call me on the phone? Mama can't solve the problem. When's Daddy ever get home? So you did your little music right in the middle of a suicide. Don't close your eyes. Don't close your eyes. Don't sing your
Man, I tell you what, brother, that song is like an anthem. We play it all the time on Jack FM. What was life like, man, when this hits and really hits and takes over the market? What was that like for you, brother?
That was actually really cool. Because that song wasn't going to be released at first. Like the record company had already, finished promoting the record, and they'd already told us to start thinking about the next one. And we were actually on tour with Great White and Tesla, and their manager at the time, what was his name?
Alan, wasn't it?
Alan Niven. Yeah.
Yeah.
He heard us doing that song, and he goes, how come that's not a single? And we're like, I don't know, record company says they're not making any more songs. And he talked to our manager about that, and he goes, our manager told him that he had tried to talk them into doing it, and they weren't interested in putting any more money into the band. So Alan said, do you mind if I talk to them? And and he was also managing Guns N' Roses at the time, so he had a lot of pull. So our manager goes, yeah, sure, be my guest. So he goes and talked to Atlantic, and before we knew it, they were gonna put the video out. So once we did that song, it was just one of those things where we'd put out singles throughout the years, and they'd catch on a little bit here and there, and then they'd fade away and you'd never see them again. But this particular one, I remember we just kept getting the little, I forget how they did it, but we get the little, because there was no internet back then, so I forget how we'd get the message, maybe through a phone call, but But we'd find out, this radio station added it, that one did, this one did, and we kept just seeing it just popping up like more and more and more and more all over the country. And I remember being up at Atlantic Records in New York City around that time when it was exploding, and I was in one of the promotion guy's office, and he had this like a notepad on his desk, and it had songs to like push to #1 and all this stuff. But I remember right when ours was getting up there is when I think Phil Collins put out another single. So of course, he's on Atlantic, we're on Atlantic, and they're going to go with his single. So we got to 11, but we didn't quite get to number 10. But still, that whole experience of just watching it pop up here and there on different radio stations was just it was a cool experience.
Wow. So we just had something happen on Facebook that Warner Music is canceling our link right now because we played a little bit of your song.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Oh, so we're off the air, or are we still on?
Looks like we're off the air.
You're delayed? She says it's delayed over here. Can you see what we're saying right now or no?
Wow.
Well, at least they're watching.
Right? Yeah, that's crazy.
I didn't know you couldn't play videos.
Well, you should be able to, especially when you're talking about the artist to the artist.
Yeah,
Oh, no,
people post.
we're still on the air
all the time.
All right, we lost, for some reason, we lost all of our audience, though.
No, because Jessica's still on. She just handed me her phone, and I was looking at it, and we're on.
All right.
Maybe they just dropped the numbers off, but they're still there viewing it. Who knows?
Well, maybe. So.
Wow. Well, lesson learned. That didn't happen with the lit stuff at all. There was no problem.
No, and so the same thing with radio. I mean, when we're promoting a show or a concert or a band, we have the rights to use their music because we're promoting the band. So
that's weird.
Yeah. So it's kind of bizarre, but we'll continue forward like we're still going, and I think we're still going.
That's the KIX cloud. That's what we call
it. It kicked us to the cloud, brother. Kicked us in the gonads, apparently.
So I guess what it did is it pulled all the shares off all the pages. So anybody that's on should probably still be on there, but she said all the shares are gone.
Wow.
Which is a lot of people.
People are saying they can't comment.
Wow.
We know. We already said that.
Well, what are we going to do? We just keep talking till the end, but boy.
And they've got us blocked except for the audio. They're just not showing video.
Can you see us on there?
Yes, but no one can comment anymore. Because I just tried to comment and it said, it says the poster object that you were commenting.
Well, I've never seen this happen before, Brian.
It's always the first time for everything, I guess.
Okay, they can see us. She's seeing us and hearing us, but you can't comment anymore.
All right.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Okay, so they can hear. They can't comment. That sucks.
All right, so we'll have to dispute it, Brian. You might actually have to get involved with us disputing this, so this video will be what it is.
Wow, that's unreal.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
I mean, like literally, we're talking to the creator of the music. How do you tell us what we don't have the right to do that? All right, well, cool. So anyway, we'll continue.
Yes. Well, let's talk about your cooking. So you're doing some cooking videos.
Yeah, and I just, it's funny because I love to cook, and I would post my food pictures for the longest time. Then people kept saying, "Hey, you should do, you should film your cooking show and this and that." And I'm like, I don't want to deal with that. Like, how am I going to do that? And then one day I just happened to just try it for fun, because I kept thinking, how am I going to do that? It's like there's too much involved. I have to stop it and start it, and like camera angles and this and that. And And so I just did it for fun one day, and it worked. And I've sort of tried to refine it as I go. I'm still in the learning stage. I they're kind of just, I just film them and edit them and throw them out there. There's no music involved really, except for a couple of them where I messed up the sound. I forgot to turn my mic on. So I go back and go to edit it, and there's like just a big silent spot with me moving my mouth, and there's nothing. So I just I sped up the sequence of those points and put like silent movie soundtrack behind it.
Yeah.
So I'm just cooking. But
keto, right?
It's kind of fun to do. I mean, the more that I do, I'm starting to run out of like unique ideas because my diet is it's pretty limited. I only eat meat. I don't eat anything else. So it's like I pretty much eat the same stuff all the time. I just sort of rotate I'll make sunny side up eggs one day with the steak, or then another day I'll make something with scrambled eggs, and I'll just rotate the way the dish looks by the way the eggs are prepared, or I'll use bacon one day and shrimp the next day, but
wow.
Yeah, but back in the old days when I was eating vegetables, this is a little bit more colorful, and now it's just down to the animal products.
So are you in full ketosis then, or?
I don't know. They call this diet the carnivore diet, and I got here through the keto diet. And I remember when I first started that, I was, I'd always check to see if I was in ketosis and this and that. And now it's like, I don't care. I just eat. This diet really, it doesn't, you don't count calories. You don't do portion control. I don't have to worry about my blood sugar because I'm not eating carbs or sugar.
Right.
So I just eat till I'm full, and then I stop eating until the next day. Like I fast. I do the intermittent fasting too. So it just regulates itself. I don't even have to think about it really.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Well, I hate that this has happened tonight, man.
I know.
People are still seeing us though, so I think it's okay.
All right.
We just can't. But
they can't comment and can't get involved. You know what? I think we bring Brian back so that we don't have this problem again. We definitely put him back in the rotation. What do you think, Robbie?
Yeah, of course.
And I think we move all this over to YouTube.
Yeah, we might have to, huh?
Because Facebook is just making it ridiculous. Brian, you haven't seen any of this, but man, they've made this almost impossible to take place. They booted us from one page. They're censored us. They took away our videos, and
Everybody's commenting.
yeah, they've just been ridiculous. So
do they give you reasons?
With everything that's going on right now, brother, with the things that are going on in the country and the opinions and the mainstream media, on 103.5 Jack FM, we just kind of put it out there. We're a little edgy sometimes, and they didn't like some of the stuff we put out there, so they just keep coming.
There's super censorship going on right now. Anything that just remotely they don't like, they cut you.
Yeah.
And it's all over the place. It's rampant right now.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you said a word we don't like.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily like the guy we had last week, Rage, had a movie that's coming out. It's, and I won't even mention what the name of the movie is, but it was actually a positive message, but they didn't, because of the name of the movie.
Wow.
They pulled the video right after the show. I was like, wow, did you even listen to what he was saying? Maybe you should listen.
Yeah, they're super hypersensitive. So I think we have you come back, my brother, and we do this on YouTube. Let's build a channel, Robbie. We got a lot of people watching and listening right now, and I think we build the channel to Hangout Live on YouTube, and we just move the whole damn show, and we bring back Brian, and we make a run for it.
We might have to do that.
You think?
Yeah, I mean, we'll figure it out.
Brian's in agreement. Brian's down.
Yeah, we didn't even get to talk about Rhino Bucket at all.
I know, we need to, man, because I played Rhino Bucket today, Brian, on the air.
Oh, I think someone posted that.
I didn't check first to make sure that the there was no lyrics in it that weren't good. And then I was flipping out trying to push buttons when I heard a little bit of some profanity, but man, the song was grinding, dude. It was hitting hard.
Which song was it?
You would ask me that, wouldn't you? Something about, no, I do remember it was One Night Stand.
Oh, okay.
Is that
I
correct?
don't think there's anything too bad in that song as far as
There was
maybe.
no
Yeah, maybe there's a little something. You never know. George will slip things by you.
So we just got a message from a few people that says there are a ton of KIX fans still watching. Messengers are blowing up, and they definitely want them back. So I think, without a doubt, we bring them back. Without a doubt. So Rhino Bucket was cool, brother. I really super enjoyed the song, and I didn't get to hear much of them before now. I mean, obviously I've followed KIX and played a lot of KIX in my days, but Rhino Bucket's definitely grindy.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was a fan of Rhino Bucket. I remember getting, back in the old days. This was probably 1990. I used to get promo records from every time we go up to visit Atlantic, they'd let us go through the drawers, and I'd grab a bunch of free CDs and stuff. And I remember they were on Warner Brothers, which was part of Atlantic and Warner Brothers. So I remember grabbing, it was Rhino Bucket I got the Black Crows at the same time. I think the record came out around the same time, and those were like the two out of the stack of CDs I grabbed that I listened to the most. And so when we went out to do Hotwire in LA, I remember looking through the little newspapers trying to find Rhino Bucket. Like, where are they playing? They got to be playing somewhere. And sure enough, they were. We went out and saw them like 2 or 3 times, I think, during the recording of that record. So I was definitely a fan back then. And then around 2000 or 2001, somewhere around there. I had run into George and Reeve, the bass player, in the 90s, and I played with Reeve in a couple things, in a blues band and a couple other bands. And then we put something together with George at some point, but then that didn't work. Well, I kind of messed that up by going to jail. And then I kind of broke the band up. And then around 2000, 2001, they decided to get Rhino Bucket back together because Ricky Rackman was trying to resurrect the Cat House. And he had asked George if Rhino Bucket would play. So we put it back together. He put it back together with me on guitar because Greg, the original guy, didn't want to do it. And it just took off from there. I learned all the old songs, and we did a bunch of gigs. And then we got a soundtrack deal writing music for this movie, which ended up turning into a record. We ended up making a record, and I made 4 or 5 records with those guys from early 2000s through 2017. We put the last one out. Wow. Called The Last Rock and Roll, and Eddie Spaghetti produced that one. That's a really good one.
I know that guy, Eddie Spaghetti. He's from Tucson. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah.
His name, Eddie Daly. He used to play in a band called We're Here. And he had the long, hair, looked kind of like Eddie Van Halen, played bass in the band. And it's just
I actually met those guys. We played Tucson. Oh, what year was that? I can't remember what year it was, but they were too young to get in the club, and they were hanging out in the parking lot when we were loading in for sound check. And we let them come in and watch the sound check.
With KIX, you mean?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yes, I remember because they said something about that. I do remember that.
Yeah.
Yep. Wow, what a trip. Small world, huh?
Yeah.
Because, Eddie moved away, and I was like, oh, what happened to the guy? He was gone. He played in a band called Thai Pink briefly, and they got pretty popular and stuff, and then he moved away, and the next thing you know, I hear he's in, I think, Seattle, I think is where he went.
Yeah, that's where Super Suckers was out of Seattle.
Super Suckers, and I was like, oh, wow. Hey, look at that.
Eddie Spaghetti. Hey, Brian, I just got a really cool message that came over to me, and I think this one's going to kind of tickle you here. So, a gal by the name of Emily who's hearing impaired?
Oh, yeah.
Emily is hearing your voice for the first time tonight. She's got hearing aids that are allowing her to hear you.
Yeah, she mentioned that she got new hearing aids. Oh, that's awesome.
Right on, man. That's cool, dude.
Yeah.
You can get me all choked up over here reading these messages, brother. All right, so that's about the end, man. Let's bring you back, Brian, for sure. Robbie, let's get him back on the schedule and get this thing moved over and let's do some more with you because I mean the outpour from your family, your friends of KIX and Rhino Bucket has been huge. And I want to get more people involved. I mean, I'm still getting nonstop messages for emails and bringing them in. So we got to do this again.
Yeah.
You down with that?
Yes.
And we'll get different stories out of you. We'll tweak it a little bit and find other things.
Oh, I think of those.
I'm sure. I was going to say there's probably plenty of stuff, you know.
We will. Absolutely. Brian, I thank you very much, brother. I'm going to shoot you a message with my phone number. Let's get you on the air here at Jack FM and do an on radio. And then Robbie and I and you will all stay in touch and figure this out and when to bring you back onto the Hangout Live YouTube. Right, Robbie?
I think that might be where we're going.
We're going to have to, brother.
Either that or network television, right?
Brian, we're filming a pilot this weekend, dude.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm going out to LA to sit next to this guy right here and film a pilot. And if it takes off on the networks, definitely have him back.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. Brian, thank you so much, my brother.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. And I'll definitely do it anytime.
Excellent. Right. Cool. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, bro. Yeah. All right, Robbie.
Yeah. Wow. What do you, I mean.
What?
We might have to move over to YouTube. I hate, geez, it's tough because it's easier to get to people quicker on Facebook, but man, they just keep messing with us.
Yeah, we got a message right here on the old phone that says the laws that restrict the use of certain content if you don't have permission. Pretty sure we have permission.
Well, the thing is, you will get the same thing on YouTube. It's automatically, there's things that registered immediately that it's being played. So the same thing happens in YouTube, and then you have to go and get the permission. So not that we didn't have permission. I mean, we could have permission, but we'd have to go and, oh, excuse me, we had permission. And by then it's too late.
Exactly.
So now we know we can't really do that. And, we'll run into the same problem on YouTube. So
yeah,
we got to think this thing through. Everybody just stay on. I think we keep going on this Facebook Live page on Facebook. I think is probably, it's just quicker and easier for everybody.
Dude, we'll talk about this off the air, but they're so on top of us right now, we can't breathe. And it's making it almost impossible on this side. So you and I will talk more about that.
Yeah.
Rochelle Hinkle, I'm sorry we didn't get to you tonight. I see your name just popped up on our screen here. We will definitely do this again, but stay with us, all right? We're going to keep rocking and rolling, and we'll bring Brian back for sure because he's badass.
Yeah, we'll get some new, different stories. That's the whole thing, is just letting him talk and have fun and hear things that, you wouldn't normally hear, stuff that he hasn't thought about, that he's going, oh, well, what about that? When I was in 7th grade, whatever, that's cool stuff, right?
It's way cool stuff, man. I love it.
We'll be doing the same thing with Bill Leverty from Firehouse next week. And then Joey's got a lot of great stuff from Warrant, because Joey was around that scene. They were a little bit later in the 80s, but boy, he knows, of course, being as big as they were.
Yeah,
a lot of people, and he's just a super cool guy.
And don't forget this Saturday night we'll be doing the special night on Saturday night. So we're gonna announce the guest later. But Morgan Miles is gonna join us live in LA.
Yep, and we will post where it will be. We'll just make that decision. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, we will. We'll let you guys know as soon as we know. Hey, let's hear it for Backbeat Music. They are the sponsor of the Hangout Live, and they're great people. Alexandria and her husband, Alexandra and her husband, just good people. So if you're here in San Angelo, go over and see them, Backbeat Music. And Robbie, I'll see you here in just a few days.
You will.
All right, folks. Love you. Thanks for tuning in tonight, and we'll see you next week.
Same bat time, same bat station.